Hey, this is Jeffrey Hayzlett, host of All Business right here on C-Suite Radio and C-Suite TV. And I want to tell you, watch the real Jason Duncan, the root of all success. If you want real news, real success, real tips from real business leaders, you want to check out the real Jason Duncan, just like I do every single week.
Welcome to the root of all success with the real Jason Duncan. A podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs unlocked success and how their stories can help you do the same. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason has built multi-million-dollar businesses that have been featured in Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur magazine. His life's mission now is helping entrepreneurs live what he calls #the exit lifestyle. Introducing TEDx speaker, mastermind leader, author, entrepreneur, cigar aficionado, motorcycle enthusiast, and host of The Root of All Success, the real Jason Duncan. The real Jason Duncan.
Welcome to another episode of The Root of All Success. I am the real Jason Duncan. I've got a great guest for us today to learn from. His name is Jeffrey Hayzlett, and this guy's got a laundry list of things that he's been involved in the past. Let me tell you a little bit about his background. He's a global business celebrity. He's a primetime television and podcast host. He's a best-selling author, got several books out. We're going to talk about a couple of those on the show today. He's a sought-after keynote speaker and sometime cowboy. I actually didn't ask him anything about that on the show, so probably shouldn't have mentioned anything in the intro, but you're gonna like this conversation. He has been cited in Forbes magazine, Success magazine, Mashable, Marketing Week. He's been a Fortune 100 CMO for a very large company, as you might imagine. That's what a Fortune 100 company is. He has been on Bloomberg, is contributing editor on there, MSNBC, Fox Business, and his own network, C-Suite TV and C-Suite Radio Network. Now, I will talk a little bit about that at the top of the show when we start the interview with Jeffrey here in just a minute. You'll hear me talk a little bit about that. But this guy has a strong following on social and in business, and he's recognized as one of the world's top C-Suite Twitter users, and he's a key influencer in the social media landscape. He is the founder of C-Suite Network, C-Suite Radio Network, which this podcast is syndicated on. And I've known Jeffrey for a while, but we've never had a one-on-one conversation. So today, you get to eavesdrop today on our conversation about some things I think you're going to be interested in. First of which, we're going to talk a little bit about Donald Trump. Yep, Donald Trump. Why are we going to talk about that? Well, stay tuned and you will see. Please help me welcome Jeffrey Hayzlett to the root of all success. Hey, Jeffrey, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for being here.
What a pleasure. I'm talking about this is the real deal, the real success. I'm glad to be here with you today.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. You know, we were talking pre-show. I have been a member of the C-Suite Radio Network for quite some time. That's you guys syndicate this particular show. And for those that listen all the way to the end, you'll hear at the very end of the show, there's a little voice that says something like, "This is part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For this and other podcasts, check out C-Suite." This is the guy behind, maybe not the voice, but this is the guy behind why that's the clip on here. And if you see my podcast cover art, for those of you that pay attention to it, there's a little thing in the upper right-hand corner that says C-Suite Radio Network. This is the guy. We got him on the show. The guy behind it all is here today. But more important than that, let's get to the really important thing. You've got a third grandchild that just was born. That was just today or yesterday. Tell everybody.
Yeah, just a couple days ago, a little Zoya. So we're excited about it. It's great. My third granddaughter, in fact. So maybe one of these days I'll get a son as well, grandson, which would be great. But I'm happy they are healthy. And you know, I not only have the new one, but the other ones, the older ones. This new one I'm calling Squirt because she's the little one of the three. So that's what I call it. That's kind of a family name in our family. My mother was named Squirt. Her real name was Henrietta, but she was born to the youngest of five brothers. With five brothers, and the oldest one was in his 30s, and the youngest one was 14. So they called her Squirt. So that's what we're calling this one.
Wow. Well, congrats, man. And we were,
Thanks.
I'm not yet have joined the grandparent, that club yet. I know it'll come at one point, and I'm praying for healthy, adorable grandchildren I get to spoil, but not right now. I'm good. I can wait a little.
Well, I tell you right now, with three girls, I'm going to be living in a Barbie hell. That's all I got to say. I know that.
Well, so my mom's older brother, my Uncle Mike, he had two daughters. And so their oldest daughter had three daughters, and now the granddaughters are now all daughters. Like they get that.
Wow.
So my cousin's husband Tony, I feel sorry for him. He's like estrogen everywhere. There's not a guy in sight.
Yeah, that's the way it works these days. But that's okay. We adjust. We adjust to it, and all you care about, you just love them, and it's the greatest thing. You wish you'd skip from parenthood right to grandparenthood, because being a grandparent is a lot better and easier than it was being a parent. That's for sure.
I heard somebody say, and I know you probably heard this too, and I know the listeners heard this, but if you raise your kids, you get to spoil your grandkids. But if you
Oh
spoil
yeah.
your kids, you get to raise your grandkids. So have you found that to
Ooh,
be true?
that's probably pretty true. We do a good job spoiling the grandkids, but they're good kids so far, so it's been great. So,
Yeah, I've got some friends who had to raise some of their grandkids, and
mm,
I felt so bad because they got to that point where they're empty nesters and things, life started to change for them, and then they get the grandkids end up showing back up, and they were happy to do it because your grandkids, you love your grandparents, you love your grandkids, and you're going to provide that, but.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
Hey, I want to talk with you about one of my favorite tools as a salesperson and as an entrepreneur, and that tool is Dub. I want you to imagine for a minute getting an email from somebody, and instead of just being the plain old crappy text in an email, rather than just having a bunch of HTML where it's pictures and stuff, what if it was a video? And the video had a little GIF, and it was playing right there in the email as soon as you opened it, and it had your name. Like it said, "Hello, Jason, check this out." And then you clicked play, and it played right there in your inbox in the window. And it was somebody trying to tell you how great you are, or how awesome they can help you, how good they can help you out. That is the power of video emails. I want you to try Dub out. I've been using it for years. I have closed countless millions of dollars in sales over the last 6 years or so using Dub, and you can do it too. All you got to do is go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. That's DUBB. Therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. Dub will help you make an impact in your sales through video. It's going to help you with, they've even got a CRM built into it. You can build landing pages. You can do campaigns, even SMS campaigns. You can set up automations to manage workflows and maximize conversions. And like I said, they've got an existing software platform inside Dub to take your CRM to the next level. Try this out. Get a free special just by being a listener to the podcast. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. Get 2 weeks to try it for free and 50% off your first 2 months. That's therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. 40 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had your business in the yellow pages. You remember those things? And 30 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a door-to-door salesman. 20 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a website. And today, you're not in business unless you're doing social media content. Am I right? Social media content. Social media content in the form of like micro content, which is 30 to 60 second spots on Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube Shorts. That's the way business is done. As a matter of fact, that may be how you found out about this podcast or me as a business coach. This medium that we're using today to communicate what we do is vitally important. And just recording yourself isn't enough. You've got to do it right. And my friends over at Story do it right. And one of the problems with doing it wrong is that you sit around thinking, well, what the heck am I going to record? What am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Like, I don't know what to talk about. Well, Story takes all of that away from you. Stop wasting time trying to come up with content, because Story will send you a video prompt on what to record. You can pick the categories you want to record in, whether it's real estate, entrepreneurship, finance, relationship, leadership, life insurance. It could be anything. Don't waste time on that. And by the way, if you're not confident in talking on video, or if the video editing portion takes up way too much of your time, Story will edit the videos to perform well on social media. They add the subtitles, the pop-ups, the zoom cuts. They remove all the filler words like and. They remove the awkward pauses. And then they take that video and post it for you. They write the captions, they add the relevant hashtags, and they post it on the platforms that you care about the most. It's exactly what you need to be in business today and to be successful at it. So if you want to learn how to do social media the way the influencers do, you need to go to therealjasonduncan.com/story. And that's story with 2 Y's. Why? Because they're awesome. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/story. That's STORYY for 10% off your first 3 months to try Story out. You're going to thank me later.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
To have that stolen from you in some sense is not really fair. So I've told my kids, listen, I'm not raising your kids. I'm not raising your kids.
I've even got some buddies of mine that are having kids in their 60s and one in their 70s. I'm going, dude, what are you doing? You know, like, you realize that you're going to be going to a high school graduation when you're 92? You know, this is not cool. You know, you should stop that stuff. You know, so anyway, to each his own. I just watched Kevin Costner, who I happen to know pretty well. You know, he's got 4 wives and 7 kids. You know, nothing wrong with having 7 kids or something. But geez, man, when you get to a certain age, stop. That's my opinion.
Oh my gosh. Well, you and I agree on that. Yeah. I'm done. One and done. Yeah. My wife and I have been married for 28 years. We have 2 awesome kids. Yeah. Hopefully we'll have great kids at some point, but this is good. Well, let's talk business.
Yeah.
So, now you've done a lot of cool stuff, but I'm going to start with what I think is an interesting thing. You know, Donald Trump obviously is in the news every day, and love him or hate him, he's everywhere. You know, I think he did a ton for this country in a good and a positive way while he was president. That's my opinion. I think right now he's kind of toxic is not the right word, but there's anything he touches right now is something crazy is happening around it. And you know, no former president has been treated the way he's treated. But I don't know him. I've never worked with him, never met him. You, however, you were on 3 seasons as a guest judge on The Apprentice back when everybody loved him. Before they had a political reason not to like him. So what was it like working with Trump pre-President Trump?
You know, he was a friend of mine, although let's just tell you, I think he's batshit crazy, but I think that's what some people really love about him, too. So the same thing. I tell everybody, had he been reelected, I said I would be ambassador to the Ireland right now, and I would be talking to you. But nonetheless, there you go. But, you know, I did a lot of business with him post-Apprentice, but also in the Celebrity Apprentice when I was a judge. I helped come up with the show. What you see is what you get with this guy. I mean, there is no pulling punches. That's what you see. And what you see every day is what you get. That's him. There's no difference. He's authentic that way. Now, some people might say he's not authentic, but he's authentic to that role and that persona. And that persona has become him. Sometimes that does happen. I know other people like Gene Simmons and so forth who become the persona of their caricature, so to speak. But, you know, Trump is Trump. He's been living that life all of his life, and he's not changed. He doesn't apologize for it. I think that's what, you know, allures a lot of people to him. You know, and a lot of folks, you know, I wrote my last book, The Hero Factor. I said Trump was good for this country. And a lot of people went after me. And I said, let me tell you why I think he was good. He made you pick a side. You know, for all the politicians that we've had for so long in this country, we put up and just said that's just the way it is. And he said it was going to be a little different. Now, whether you like him or you don't, you got to give him credit for that. He made you pick a side. And I think that was finally good for this country to whether you said, hey, I'm for this or I don't want to be for that. And I thought that was a good thing for this country.
Have you had much interaction with him since he became president?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I talked to him right before his first State of the Union. I talked to him a couple times during, you know, his term, and then I've talked to him after the term. I've been involved. You know, I see him from time to time. You have to look in my business. I'm in the media business, and I just helped start a new Hispanic network called Mexicano Media, which is a television network, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, TV network for Hispanics, fastest growing population in this country. And there is not a news channel for Hispanics. There's news light like Telemundo or Univision, but there is no all news channel for Hispanics, and soon to be the majority population in this country. So it's good business. And of course, you know, they're a little right of center. Most Hispanics are right of center. And so he's, you know, he's on that network every day, just like DeSantis is, just like so many others are as well, because that's just the nature of politics today.
Well, what's interesting, and we won't talk about Trump the whole show, but what I think is interesting about him is that, when he became president, I remember the day, the day after the election, I remember going, I can't believe this guy's president. It wasn't that I was not happy that he was president or that I was angry. It was just I couldn't believe that this guy who's a billionaire, he's been on the show The Apprentice, so he's a reality TV star. He's president. Holy crap! What
Yeah.
in the world? But here's what I also noticed. I'm a big car guy. I love watching car shows, and I like Top Gear. Top Gear, most people know what that is. It came over the BBC in England. But they did a Top Gear episode in 2000. Golly, I can't remember what year, 6 to 8, somewhere around there, but pre-President Trump. But Trump was the guest, like secret guest at the end of the show. For people that watch the show, they do these crazy things with cars during the show, and at the end they reveal who it's for. So the idea was they were doing the show of 3 different cars, and they were going to deliver them to a billionaire, and they were going to see which one he would choose. So there was a Bentley Continental GT, there was a Lamborghini, and there was a Porsche, if I remember correctly. And they did all these crazy things like racing the cars against a golf ball off of a tee. It was nuts. And at the end, they revealed that it was for Trump. And so they pulled up at Trump Tower or Trump Plaza in downtown New York. And the crowd was going nuts. Trump was out there and people were yelling and screaming, all good. Like all this was good. And they loved it. And they were talking about how great he was. And I'm like, 3 years later, they hate him. What is it? Is it just political motivation or is it something else? What is your opinion?
No, I think it's political, but also ideological. I think a lot of people didn't like the bedside manner. I mean, first of all, I think I was watching, a show the other day about the election and about what led up to it. And I heard all the Billy Bush stuff that was going on and what he got by with saying. And, most presidential candidates would have been crushed by that. You can grab them by the, what. And, just to make a comment like that. Now, you and I know that is locker room talk. Whether or not we like that or not, there are some men who talk like that all the time. I don't particularly talk about my wife to other men because that's just not something I like to do. Besides, I just don't think it's good. It's good decorum, and that's between my wife and I. But he is one of those guys that just says it like it is, and I think some people have a problem with that. They think you should act and fit into a certain box, and I think Biden has some of the same things. We all do, and I think we're at a position in this country where it's time to take sides. It's time to stand up for values. It's time to put your values up front and say, nope, I'm okay with that. Just like I say, it's okay for Chick-fil-A to make a stand about gay marriages if they want, or about not opening on Sunday. That's their prerogative. That guy owns that company. Kathy Truitt owns it, or Truitt Kathy owns that company. He can do whatever he wants. Starbucks can make their own, disclaimers about what they want to do, and so forth and so on. I think it's perfectly okay, and you can choose to go eat a chicken sandwich there or not, or get a cup of coffee there or not. That's up to you. But at least you take a stand, and I think I honor that. And by the way, you and I should be able to disagree and still have a civil conversation. And that's probably what we've lost. And so we've had the politics of hate for quite a while, it's been preached to us. And I think some of this talk show stuff that we're seeing on TV is going to go away because people are tired of it.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with you because it is the politics of hate, as you said. That's where we're at. We've never been more divided as a country. And in some sense, it's sad. It's really sad. But in part of that, if you have a good perspective, because nothing has meaning until you give it meaning. So if we have a better perspective about it, like what you're saying, just take a stand. And so as entrepreneurs and business owners, there's a lesson in there for us about taking a stand. We can't be everything to all people. We've got to take a stand for what it is we believe in and who we serve.
And by the way, you need to do that as a brand or decide whether or not that's right for you or not right for you. And it's okay to be able to say we disagree. And that I don't know that we've ever been as divided as we have as a country. The Civil War was probably the biggest divide that we've ever had. And we went to war with it. And millions of people died. We don't want to see those kinds of things happen in any way, shape, or form. I think we just have to reset the clock a little bit or reset the dialogue to say it's okay for us to have healthy debate. It's okay for us to scream at each other a little bit over the dinner table and still, have a glass of scotch after the conversation, and we need more of that. My job is not to change your mind. My job is just to understand you. That's what human beings, that's what we should do in this society. And we need more of that. I think we have to reset that a little bit, say it's okay. I've had people come on my Facebook page and say, remember, we had a reporter that was following Richard Branson and I around for like a week and a half to kind of do a social story because we were both speaking and do a lot of things together. And she finally said, I really don't like following you. I said, well, then stop. I didn't ask you to get on my Facebook or get on my Twitter and follow my every move. You chose that. If you don't like it, get the hell off my page. I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I think we're the nation of the offended. If you've ever read the book Outwitting the Devil, have you read this book?
Not yet. No.
Oh, you got to go read Outwitting the Devil. Was written by Napoleon Hill. He wrote it in 1939, right after he wrote Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
No. But he wrote it in 39, but it wasn't published and released until 2011, thanks mainly to Sharon Lecter, if you know Sharon Lecter.
Oh, I know Sharon. Really well.
Yeah, she was behind that. But they didn't release it for so many years because of the content. The content was Napoleon interviewing the devil, and it is a conversation back and forth. It's amazing. It's really, really good. So, but here, the reason I bring that up is that in the interview in the book, Napoleon asks the devil, give me one of your tactics that you're using to take over the world. And he said, I will influence people to give their opinion on matters that do not concern them in public forums. He wrote that in 1939. And I'm thinking he predicted Facebook and Twitter. He predicted all the face holes. All the people that get on there and all they do is they fight and argue and anyway. So
I call them twankers. I termed that like in 2006 and it's in the Wikipedia, the twanker, which is a wanker, but on Twitter. That was back when Twitter was really hot, big and just getting started. So we need, again, the discourse needs to change, and it's more of this kind of conversation. You and I, Jason, are not going to agree on everything. We're going to agree on a lot of things, but we're not going to agree on everything. You still can be my friend. You can still be a #1 host on C-Suite Radio. Love it, no problem. That's what it should be about. And the more people can voice opinions, the more people can get out there and let things know. And I'm okay with it, even with the discourse that we have on the public. The issue I'm fighting right now is the COVID experts that have now become, then they became AI experts, and now they're thread experts, like overnight, like within 2 days. I'll teach you how to get on threads. I'll teach you how to do that. It's just amazing to watch some of these people.
Yeah, well, it is indeed, and there's a lot of business lessons in there for us to pay attention to too. So, what about your business background? So now today, among other things, C-Suite Radio Network, C-Suite TV, that's kind of your baby. You've started that. But you got your start a long time ago before this. So give me, I don't want to, there's not tons of diving into your background, but just enough to set it up. Tell us where you started as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I started a public relations firm. I was running political campaigns and doing a lot of lobbying work, things like that. So I started a PR firm, managing associations and managing different clients and accounts and doing that. And then that led me to buy a cell phone company and then a printing company. And then, before I knew it, I bought and sold over 250 businesses for about $25 billion, became a Fortune 100 officer, left that, started, on Bloomberg Television doing my own TV show after Celebrity Apprentice, because, with a face like this, it was, of course I had to be on TV, with this kind of eye candy. And, and then that led me to have a #1 TV show on primetime called The C-Suite with Jeffrey Hayzlett. And I said, look, I got to monetize this show, this audience, this community, because if you got great content, you can build a great community, and from a great community, you can have great commerce. And I call it the 3 C's. And so we went out and started the C-Suite Network, and that's how we got started, and started creating C-Suite TV, C-Suite Radio, C-Suite Book Club. I'm even going to create C-Suite Cologne, the smell of success. So we're doing it all.
So content, community, and commerce. I'm writing that down. That's really good. 3 C's.
Yeah. Yep.
So is that? Tell me a little bit more about that. That's really clever. but
Well,
good.
you have to be a brand today. Let's imagine you're a dry cleaner in St. Louis. There's 197 dry cleaners in the greater St. Louis area. How are you going to stand out? You can't use Facebook, or you can't just use the yellow pages. Those are dead. You can't just use Google ads because they can outbid you. So you have to become known as the doctor of spots. You have to create content so that people say, hey, let me show you a video on how to get grass stains out. Let me show you a video on how to get blood from a shirt or whatever it might be. And you start letting people know that you're the expert. You're the thought leader in that particular category, that area. And so by doing so, people then want to know more about you. And even though you might show them how to do it and the way to do it, they'll still want to gravitate you and do business with you because they become a fan. So content leads to fandom, or a community where people want to be and hang around with other people that they really like and trust, and be part of that, what I call trusted network. And then that leads to doing more business. That's it. And by the way, the more you give of that content, the greater your chances for success are.
So speaking of success, this is, of course, the show, The Root of All Success. So if you had to distill down all the success you've had in your professional career, specifically in your professional career, what would you say is the one key? If you had to distill it to one thing, what's that one thing that helped you be successful more than anything else?
Focus. But being around focus is also, to me, being relentless. You're on that single piece of what has to occur, getting it done no matter what it takes. I still said it at night last night, doing invitations on LinkedIn to an event in New York and later this month. And everybody says, why? We got people for that. I said, I can do it at night. I'm having fun. I'm doing it. I'm staying connected to the people. And people say, hey, they'll write me back on LinkedIn or something and say, hey, Jeff, is this your staff? Please let Jeff know to say hello. And I write them back and say, no, this is me, man. I'm sending this to you, and that's that focus. But as a result of it, I'll have 300 people show up for a mixer on August the 1st in New York City. That's the key. And from that 300 people that will be at that mixer, we typically will see a 30% net return on that. So that's 30 people that would join us on an average of, let's say, $5,000 a piece. Okay, 30 times 5, dude, that's real money. So for a mixer where I don't even have to put out hors d'oeuvres, okay? So that to me that's focus and just being relentless of doing this, doing the right things every single time over and over and over. And by the way, and if I have to clean the bathrooms, I'll clean the frickin' bathrooms. If I have to, sweep up the floor before everybody gets there, rearrange all the tables before everybody shows up because it's got to have the right ambiance, that's what we'll do. And that's what I will do,
I love it. Focus stands for, one of my mentors told me this a long time ago, follow one course until successful.
There you go, brother.
One course until successful.
By the way, that says something, because a lot of people say, you want to fail fast, That's a big thing. Oh, fail fast. Because you're going to fail. Let's be clear. It's not about failing fast. It's about winning fast. Okay. Failing sucks. Okay. I hate it. People always ask me, what's your biggest failure? I said, I don't know. Haven't done it yet. Meaning there's always a bigger one. No matter how many times I do it, I'm still going to make mistakes. That's just the way it is. But the key for me is always about succeeding fast. To get to success, capture that customer behavior, get to that goal as fast as I can. And then once I do it, go do it again. And people tell me some of your failures. I can't always remember them because I just forget them. Because to me, they were just steps along the way. Successes I remember.
How do you define that success? What's that word really mean to you?
It's about meeting my conditions of satisfaction, whatever those might be. So you've got to have laid out what is your conditions of satisfaction, whether it's in life or, excuse me, or whether it's for, a goal, for a sales goal, or, a retention goal, or it's a, conversion goal, or a reach goal, discovery goal, whatever you might have. Those are conditions of satisfaction. But for each and everything, I set conditions of satisfaction. So when we sit down and we're going after something, I say, well, what problem are we trying to solve? What is it? What's our objective? And then knowing that, like say for a meeting, or we're about to launch a website and we're, doing the positioning statement, is like, okay, what problem are we trying to solve? What are we trying to get people to do here? That would define success, right?
Meeting.
And yeah, conditions of satisfaction, mutual conditions. And by the way, between the two of us, if we were working together, I'd talk about mutual conditions of satisfaction, because they got to be win-win for both of us. Your success has got to be my success. My success needs to be yours, or it's lopsided, and that's not a good way to in my opinion, to do the things I like to do.
Well, I think the definition meeting my conditions of satisfaction is really, really good because it speaks to the true definition of success in the dictionary, which is achieving the results that you intended. So if you
There you
achieve
go.
the results you intended, that's your conditions of satisfaction. If I want to lose 100 pounds and I lose 100 pounds, I met the conditions of my satisfaction, and I'm satisfied. That's success. So thank you for that, because I'd not heard those words string together in that order before, but it's really, really good. But now let me follow up with this.
Mhm.
So Jeffrey Hayzlett, based on that definition, are you a successful person?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's, my conditions of satisfaction are to build wealth. All right. One, because I grew up in a very poor environment. My family was not rich. They never went to college. Barely finished high school. Not all my family finished high school. And then, so building wealth for me and my family to make sure my kids and my grandkids have a better life than I did. I think that's the legacy that we have to do, is that we have to set the downline ready in a better shape than it was when we got there. The second one for me is around learning new things. I love to learn. That's what keeps me interested. And then third, it has to be fun. Those are my three things. And, and when I get into new deals or meet new people and I can't relate to those things, I'm just out. I'm just gone. And so that's where that focus comes back into play, right? Because I really focus on, is this deal going to get me to those three things? I can usually put up with one or just two of them for a while, but I got to have all three in the end. Otherwise, I'm out.
So now let's turn our attention to helping the people that are listening. So if you had to speak into the soul of the person that's listening, who's an entrepreneur, and you've got all this success, all these achievements that you've done that I read in your bio about being Fortune 100 CMO, being in Forbes magazine, Success, Mashable, Marketing Week, Chief Executive. You've been at Bloomberg, MSNBC, Fox Business, C-Suite TV. I mean, just on and on and on. What is your one nugget of wisdom, advice that an entrepreneur can take and run with?
It's about being relentless. I did my third book was Think Big, Act Bigger, and the rewards of being relentless. And I think the biggest thing you have to do as an entrepreneur is to be relentless and thinking big and making it. Because all these people, you're going to have all these captains of no come to you. Oh, it's like people will come to you and say, it's not in the budget. Well, so what? Change the freaking budget. Or we tried that once. In fact, in that book, I think I listed 14 pages of freaking excuses that people give to you that I've heard. I just asked everybody, give me an excuse. I went out to friend sources, say, everybody give me the best excuses you ever heard. Give them to me, because I'm going to put them in my book, and I put them all in there, right? And then I said, this is all bullshit. This is all about priorities. Any one of those excuses could have been changed if you had changed the priorities. Early on when I left Kodak, and I finally just got fed up and said, I quit. I'm done. And I left. No job, nothing, no money coming. And, one of my friends even said at Kodak, said, why didn't you let me help you put together a package? I said, I want it out. It didn't meet my conditions of satisfaction. I want it out. And I just literally just quit. I'm done. I'm out. And so, but afterwards I met with the team and I said, hey, look, we have to build up me as a brand. That's what we're going to do. We're going to build this thing called global business celebrity. And someone said, what is that? And I said, whatever the hell we tell people it is. And I said, so with that, we've got to get my social profile up over 100,000. We got to get this up to 50,000, this up to 25. This is early days back in 2010. Now I've got over 1 million followers and 1 million fans. So, but back then, and so they went out and they came back and said, well, here's our goals. It's 25 for this, 10 for this, 5 for this. I said, wait a second, I told you 100 and 50 and 25 for each one of the social networks. They said, well, given the budget. And I remember turning back to him and said, who the hell told you what the budget is? I said, go get it. You're supposed to tell me how much it's supposed to cost, how long it's supposed to take, what efforts we have to put into it. I'll make the decision whether it's right or not, or whether it's worth it or not. So go back to square one. If it's not 100,000, people are going to take me serious. So if we can't get to 100,000 followers on Twitter, which now I have like 600, 700,000 on Twitter, I said, then they're not going to pay attention to me. And so because when they said, why? Because I said zeros talk. Let's look at the greatest influencers. Now, we'll talk about engagement and everything else a little bit later, but let's just get the numbers up first, then we'll get to the engagement part. So anyway, again, I think you have to be real relentless, and you have to really think big in terms of put some zeros to it.
I love it. Relentless is a good trait for entrepreneurs. You've got to push through because there's going to be points of failure. There's going to be points of learning that take you to that next level of success.
Well,
So I
Jason,
love,
think yeah,
love that.
yeah. Think about how many times you got to reach out to somebody you're trying to sell to them and they're not responding. They're ghosting you. You have to be relentless. If you're on my hit list, if you're on my dream list of somebody that I want to do business with, I am not going to frickin' stop. I am going to stalk you. I am going to find you on social media. I'm going to find you at cocktail parties, at receptions. I will find you at the gym. I will find. I mean, I've even bought ads on people's drive to their gym. I bought ads in the gym. I bought ads to their wife's favorite charity in order to be able to get to that CEO. So you have to be relentless.
Tell me a little bit about, as we close the show out today, about C-Suite Network. I mean, this is a big thing that you've built with a lot of podcasters, TV people. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a trusted network of over 350,000 C-suite executives who opted in, a place for you to be able to come and share and learn and cheer for each other, and a place in which across the table from you is somebody that's at your level. Because today's world, we see, and you do masterminds, and I'm so great to see that you lead such a great one because there are so many false prophets out there. There are so many false prophets like Bite the Bottom Line and false prophets like the Bible. They set up a website. You can't tell who they are. Sometimes they're 18-year-old life coaches. At 18, you're not a life coach. You're a teen coach. Let's be clear, right? So ours is a place for you to come together. It's a platform for people to be able to take their content, take their message, carve out their thought leadership, and be able to really hyper scale their business. And that's really what it's about. We're like a giant sequoia tree. And when you walk into the sequoia forest, you see these big canopies and there's lush ecosystem under these big trees. That's what the C-Suite Network's all about. So we have thousands of members, over 50 million downloads on our podcast today, millions of views on our TV shows every single week. So, and we have a book club, and we have councils, which are peer-to-peer councils or masterminds of various thought leaders that come together, and we just one big happy community.
So the C-Suite TV is interesting to me because I know that from my podcast, The Root of All Success has been syndicated on C-Suite Radio Network for several years now. And I know that I have access to be putting my podcast on C-Suite TV, but my team is not doing that. What am I missing there? Am I missing something? Should I just
you got to go. This is the key thing that I always tell people. You want to be very successful in business. You want to capture customer behavior. So if you think about where are business people watching, they're watching on their phone, they're watching streaming TV today. So you got to be on the platforms where they're at. So like with our C-Suite Radio, we're on 1,900 different platforms on TV. We're on tens and tens of platforms with streaming. TV is a little different than podcast. Podcast was built on a digital platform. Broadcast was built on an analog platform that moved to digital. And now we're starting to really see that. So now you can be on Apple, Roku, Amazon Fire, in addition to being, say, for instance, on YouTube. So, and most people for business are going to Apple, Roku, Amazon Fire before they go to YouTube. YouTube is great because YouTube is where people go to get things or solve things like how to. But most people, in order to really gain knowledge, they'll put a lot more value on something that's on the streaming side.
Nice. Okay. Well, Jeffrey, it's been a pleasure talking to you today, man. It's good to finally get some one-on-one time with you after being in your network for the last 2 or 3 years. And it's a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on all your success. Thank you for the key that you have to success, which is focus and also like it being relentless. And for all the listeners, you can get in touch with Jeffrey. He's got a contact. He's on all the socials, as he said. You can just look him up at Jeffrey Hayzlett. The Jeffrey is spelled the traditional way, Jeffrey. Hayzlett is Hayzlett. So you can look him up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Jeffrey Hayzlett. You can find him on LinkedIn at just Hayzlett, or you can probably just search Jeffrey Hayzlett, find him there. Is there anything you would like to leave for the audience before we sign off today?
Hey, anybody that wants to drop in, every Friday we run what's called Celebrates. Think of it like a stopping by at a pub on your way home from work on a Friday. So come and join us. We're online. We have hundreds of execs that pop in every single Friday, and we'd love to have you. Just check us out at c-suitenetwork.com.
That's c-suitenetwork.com, c-suitenetwork.com. So go check that out, everybody. Thank you for listening today. Jeffrey, thank you for being here. And congratulations again on granddaughter number 3, Little Squirt.
Hey, thank you, my friend.
Well, there you have it. Another successful entrepreneur about his journey to success. And what's interesting about this conversation with Jeffrey is that he used these 3 C's. Content leads to community, community leads to commerce. I think you should write that down. That is really, really good. Content, community, commerce. And really that's what this is about. It's what social media is about. It's creating positive, engaging, educational, entertaining content that builds a community, and that community then does commerce together. And I've seen that through this podcast. This is episode 175. We've been doing this now for several years. And this content that I'm putting out helps build a community of people just like you who listen to the show faithfully every single week, who come up to me when we meet at chance meetings, at business events, and you say, hey, I'm a big fan of the show. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And then I've done hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business through this show because of creating the content and the community. So Jeffrey's onto something. This is really, really good information. Now, remember, his key to success is focus, is being relentless in your focus, staying focused, follow one course until successful. And his definition of success is meeting his conditions of satisfaction. I think that's great. But I think he's got a lot of cool stuff going on. So go check him out. You can go to c-suitenetwork.com, c-suitenetwork.com to check him out. Join up on those Friday celebrates that he talked about. And you can follow him in any of the social media. Just look up Jeffrey Hayzlett. All this will be in the show notes. But I'm really grateful for you listening to the show. And if you haven't picked up a copy of my book, Exit Without Exiting, I want to encourage you to go do that. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/book and pick up the copy of this book. This is a story of 3 different entrepreneurs and how they were able to exit, how they were able to begin living what they wanted to live, and how they weren't able to live the way they wanted to live because of how they built their business. This gives you all the keys, the tools, the tactics that you need to get out of the weeds of daily operation. The book's only $16. You can pick it up at therealjasonduncan.com/book. Please tune in again next week when I talk with yet another very successful entrepreneur about his or her journey to success. Until then, I am the real Jason Duncan. And as always, Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.